Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Leslie Kerns, and I am the board president of Sierra Commons. It's my honor to be opening this incredible gathering of cross-pollinators and change makers in this room. You are all invited here today because you're seen as change makers. And we're hoping that you will sit here and talk across sectors. This is a space for that. We've created this space with different people. You are seated accordingly so that you can change the minds and bring your brain power, your passion, your enthusiasm toward making change in our rural communities. We're hoping at the end of the day that you will feel that your time was well spent, that you did make new connections, that you shared innovative ideas for making lasting change and building momentum for resiliency in our communities. In just a little bit, I'm going to hand it over to Robert Trent, Executive Director of Sierra Commons. But I have a lot of people I want to thank here today. This was brought to you through volunteerism and sponsorship and a lot of hard work on Sierra Commons' part. And we're very happy to see you all here today. And we hope that you leave here feeling like it was worth your while. So before we dig in, I do want to talk about the volunteers that are in the room, and they have helped put together the tables, check you in. They're helping with food service and anything that you need to make you feel more comfortable and get productive in this room. There are board members in the room from Sierra Commons, and if you wouldn't mind just raising your hands. We are moving this forward. We're taking Sierra Commons to the next level, and we could use your help. So we have some information on the table about becoming a board member. We hope you'll consider it. We can talk to you about what the commitment looks like. You can go online and put in your information, and then we'll contact you after, or just decide that you want to put in an application. We would love it. So yesterday there were NU students that helped put this together. The volunteers that are here today are small business owners, they're independent contractors, they're people from our community that are giving to our organization because they believe in rural resiliency and want to help our community. So if you feel inspired, please talk to us about that. Generous sponsors. I want to talk about the people the agencies and companies that help us put this together. We have California Jobs First, We Prosper, Bodhi Hive, Sierra Business Council, Valley Vision, Community Inspired Solutions, HERC, Higher Education Recruitment Consortium, Outer Heaven Espresso, brought the espresso today, the coffee today, Fire Up, Banner Bank, Sierra Commons. Thank you all for investing your time here today. Thank you to the donors for investing your time and believing in local collaboration. I'm going to turn it over to Robert. I hope I thanked everybody. But we're glad that you're here. Let's dig in and make some connections and get to work. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Oh, cool. All this planning, and now you're all here. It's so awesome. So thank you so much for showing up. I want to start by just saying it's Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, so that's cool. There's actually a lot going on right now today, and I want to just invite you to participate. Coulter Merrick here, co-founder of Elixart, is hosting Indigenous Peoples Day celebration in Elixart from I think 12 to 6, but don't go at 12. You got to go at least after 2, after we're done here. And I don't know who's gone to the new art opening at the Ubaseo Gallery downtown Nevada City. It's an incredible new exhibit with great artwork and really an amazing history. And also, like, before it starts raining, there's access to the Nisenan Tribute Trail right down there. So take a walk. There's interpretive signage, and then just enjoy. So it's an honor to be here. And I just want to say, like, man, this last week has been bonkers. It's been totally nutso, but beautiful. And so I'm going to just give you a rundown of what's happened at Sierra Commons, just to illustrate what we're really about. So there's been some, and this is all since last Monday, so it's exactly a week. We launched a new kind of retooled food entrepreneurship accelerator. Monty is our lead instructor. You want to raise your hand, Monty? Okay, so this is the second cohort of the year. There's 11 students in the class. There's one of our sponsors, Outer Heaven, is taking the class along with some employees. They're working on making it an employee-owned business. There's bakers and just a wide variety of food entrepreneurs that not only are producing food and value-added food products, but they have a passion to give back to the community and support the food web in Nevada County. So that happened on Monday. On Tuesday was the final graduating class. It was the final class of the Business Igniter course. We graduated 7 students, some of whom are here. Tony Tone is here, marketing, and makes these awesome puppets. We have just a variety of students graduating there. What else? This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we held a forest entrepreneurship training course in Auburn. There were 16 students. Ruby, our co-facilitator, and this is the 8th of 9 forest entrepreneurship trainings this year alone. So we've done it in, let's see, since 2024, we visited 7 different counties in Northern California to do in-person boot camps and a couple virtual ones. So we've been killing it. Like I said, there were 16 students, and it was really cool. Another Igniter graduate is Leticia over there. You'll see Leticia throughout the day doing graphical facilitation. So we decided we don't want to do PowerPoints. PowerPoints are boring, but instead we're going to try something new. And so this is actually her business, and that she's relaunching here from what you previously did in Brazil. Yeah, so that's cool. Amber, where's Amber? All right, Amber took our forest entrepreneurship training and also has presented it in previous classes. So really the people in the room, I'm just saying, like Wendy and Stephanie is doing a biomass plant. You'll hear from Stephanie later. So there's just like so much good stuff happening just within the people within this room. Last Tuesday was the another first for Sierra Commons, where we had the food accelerator class going simultaneously with the Business Igniter course. So we had 2 concurrent classes going. So we're leveraging online to do that. So that was cool. Monty is also launching a kind of a bi-monthly speaker series that's free to the public for food entrepreneurs. And Monty has deep experience in the food industry, and we're bringing some of that knowledge from other areas into our community. So all these things, and now, we're all here in this room. Sierra Commons has never done anything like this. And Michael Tammany, wherever you are, thanks for roping us into this. Sure, we'll do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we just kept on building on it. So Really, like Leslie said, just expressing a lot of gratitude to the board and the staff and the volunteers and the sponsors. And this is like the level of dedication that's happening here, is that it's Leslie's birthday today. And she's showing up here to do this business event. So that's so awesome. We did take time to make a card for you and get you a little something. So thanks for sharing your time. Let's give it up for Leslie. Okay, so in 2024, we made a huge decision to close our co-working space. It was it was our second home. And it was, Sierra Commons, and you think about the Commons as a gathering space. And it really was like my second home. We were there for 13 years. And then before that, we're in the Stone House. We always had a place. And frankly, I was complaining a lot about like, why is this happening with loud? It's not easy running a community in a physical space. So finally gave it up. And since then, it's just been skyrocketing. We just gone like tripled our impact and tripled our activities and our programs. So, kind of have to practice what we preach about pivoting. And we did it. It was difficult, but we did it. So we wanted to focus on education and building our programs. And that's exactly what we've done. And we haven't been able to do it without everyone here. And I can just see Gil back there, and the ERC has been instrumental in helping us get a Catalyst grant, and Eliza Tudor and who else was on there's I know I'm forgetting someone, Kathleen Parker, thank you, who helped helped us along that process, and Kimberly and the Board of Supervisors has adopted a 3-year action plan for Nevada County, which is awesome. It's putting a grow from within strategy at the forefront of what this county's action plan is. And that's what we've been all about since day one. So it's really cool for this momentum happening. And we have partnership with the Small Business Development Center and the SBDC. And so we're not doing this alone. There's all different types of organizations helping fund us. When Lynn, hey, send out something for our media kit, it's done. And that's really what it takes. There's teachers in this room that volunteer their time or give us a heck of a bro deal on their time for teaching. So that's what we've been doing just in this since November. And the forest entrepreneurship is really taken off. We have dipped our toes with a new collaborator called Fire Up, and they're out of San Jose, and they're a project of Wonder Labs. And Wonder Labs is responsible for the burn bot. Folks in the forest industry know what the burn bot is. So we're doing some educational programming with them. Alex has come here from the Central Sierra Economic Development. Yes. And we're going to be working next year on a youth entrepreneurship program in 5 to 7 counties in the Central Sierra. So we're really, really spreading our wings, and it's super exciting. So, hey, let's do some data points because it's an economic thing. Why not? So there was a new report just out that says between March of 2023 to March of 2024, small businesses created 99.7 of all new jobs in California. 99.7 of all new jobs. And sometimes people that maybe know something about small business, oh, that's 500 employees or more. That's, that doesn't, really hit home to what we're doing. But here's another fact is 98% of California small businesses employ fewer than 20 people, mostly micro enterprises, family-run shops, sole proprietors. That's our people. That's who we work with. So it's really encouraging that, the county's in step and the state is in step, and all of you are really doing the work, especially the entrepreneurs out here that are starting and growing the businesses, because that's what the resilience is about. That's where we're going to prepare ourselves for the next whatever happens, and we're going to have a strong base of local entrepreneurs, and that's going to help us get through whatever the next fiasco is, right? Um, let's say, so how do we do all this stuff? And really, it's our secret sauce is doing classes. Obviously, we do cohort classes. In 2024, we gave up doing the one-off classes, so we're really sticking with cohort classes. We do one-to-one business advising, and just to let you know, like as an advisor, 82% of the people I work with identify from people from the disinvested, disadvantaged community. So we're really out there helping people that need the help the most. We run a online peer mentoring accountability group, along with the programming we mentioned. We give tons of resources, and right now, like, people are making connections. We're pretty good at that, and we love the connections that you bring to us. And really, there's this idea of heart forwardness, or heart forward business education, because what I've learned and what we've learned as an organization is that, sure, you can give a class on here's how you're reading the P&L, or here's how you get a certain permit or licensing. But what isn't taught in many classes is, how do you deal with a move or a divorce, or a parent with dementia, or coming out of bankruptcy, or all these other factors in your people's lives that really impact how they navigate starting a business. Starting a business alone is like really, really tough, let alone having some life issues. So I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. So that's I think what differentiates us, is that we can focus on that, acknowledge that. So we don't have a co-working place, physical co-working place. It's been lovely to hole up here at Bodhi Hive. It's a beautiful place to have classes. They got great accommodations. The people are great here, and it's fun. I mean, there's a roller skating rink right there, right? They know how to have fun here. There's like 87 businesses in the other building. They're growing. And oh my gosh, you'll hear from GeoShip. They're building a prototype building here. They donated land to Nevada City for the skate park. I mean, this place is happening down here, and it's really great to be a part of that. So thanks, Bodhi Hive, for letting us call this place home for our classes. But really, what we've learned is that we still can be the commons, and this is the commons. This is what we're doing here. We're coming together and lifting up our community through collaboration. We all have our own silos that we do work in, but that's what this day is about. And you have your beautiful programs. I was going to kind of explain the rhythm of the day. You got your awesome programs in front of you. And we will just head into the next section just to stay on time. We're going to have a conversation with Trish Kelly. And Trish, I came down to, Trish is the, you can come on up, managing director of Valley Vision. I think you've been there since 2014. When I was starting with this food stuff, I was like, you got to talk to Trish. You got to talk to Trish. You got to talk to Trish. So I did, and I was super impressed. And now it's like I'm blown away to have you here, coming straight from Hawaii to join us. And has been a real champion of food and small business. And it's great to have you here. And I'm thinking I'm going to just do a little stage reset just so it's more comfortable for us. How about that? Does that work for you? Let's give a round of applause for Trish. Let's see. Thank you. I need to find my prompts.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, so thanks for having me. And I was excited when Robert called me. And even though I knew I was going to be on vacation with my family and I was not coming back till last night, I was like, I can't pass this up because this is my passion too. My friend Rabbi David in the front row. And so I've been working in rural entrepreneurship and rural economies for over 30 years. So I'm just excited to be here and be a resource for you today
All right,
and
cool.
learn from everyone too.
Uh-huh. Well, lots of brain power in this place. Can everyone hear us okay? Yeah. Up. Yeah, cool. Right. So let's just talk about this is regionality. A lot of us are from Nevada County. We have some people from Central Sierra or neighboring counties. So why does region matter?
Region matters because it's we're all in a region and ecosystems are regional, watersheds, airsheds, labor market sheds are how we work, transportation systems. But really, if we take it from um, the natural geography, that's how we organize ourselves. And I've been working on regional strategies since the mid 90s. There was a process called there was a creation of a mechanism at the state level called the California Economic Strategy Panel. And that was to look at regional economies because our state is so big, we knew that we couldn't do a one size fits all. And we also wanted to tap into what was happening at the local level and understand how the state could support that rather than direct from the top. So the idea of the regionalism movement is that there are also issues that we need to address that are complex, and at a local level, we can't solve those problems. But if we work as regions with regional stewards, which is what we're going to talk about today, you have a chance to really address things at a bigger scale.
Yeah, and I kind of just became aware really how deeply Valley Vision and the state is organizing regionality through the We Prosper Together or the good
California jobs first.
California Jobs First.
Yeah.
Yeah, so could you just explain a little bit about that program?
Yes. So 30 years ago, when we started this process with the Economic Strategy Panel, we started working to really understand what defined our regional economies and what were common across regions that we could address together and what were unique and specific, and how to craft these strategies to lift all regions and honor the competitive and comparative advantages that each region had. So that was a great process, and it went on for several years. It shifted and changed, but the state did build more capacity to sort of understand and document regional economies and provide analytic tools for local partners. A lot of the workforce boards and the community college networks now are based on these ideas of regional economic clusters where you want to train people for the jobs that are emerging that are good skills, high quality jobs. So these ideas have been embedded for a long time, but there never has really been specific investment into our regional economies and these strategies. So when the pandemic happened and the world it got turned upside down again, it's like, how are we going to come out of this in a better state than we were before? And how do we address the changes that are happening? Climate change, the need to build climate resilience and jobs that work for people in the future. And what are the place-based strategies? So the state's been helping invest in regional economic strategies, and they created or identified 13 regions and put people together. So that's how the Sacramento region has Nevada County. We're so happy, and Colusa County is added to our 6-county normal region that Valley Vision deals with. So after the implementation plan, there's now investment capital. And each region has a convener and a fiscal agent. And in our region, Valley Vision, which is a nonprofit, holds that status. And so we've been working for the last couple of years with a lot of our partners, Sierra Business Council, Tahoe Prosperity Center, and other partners to kind of help manage across the region, but the sub-regional level as well.
Yeah, so there's something like $13 million that initially was given for the Catalyst funds.
Yes, there was the planning phase, and then there was the Catalyst Fund. Each region got funding to invest in a series of projects that would meet the cluster definitions that we came through our planning process, and then also had this criteria for quality jobs and climate forward jobs.
Yeah, and so there's in Nevada County, Connecting Point received a Catalyst Fund, and Sierra Commons did, and then the Nevada Union, Nevada Union had a great land project out by the fairgrounds where they're doing incredible stuff, teaching kids about entrepreneurship and animal husbandry and working lands. So we have some great projects, and Alex in the Central Sierra received probably multiple Catalyst grants in that region. So it's really helping uplift.
Yes, and so I'll say, you mentioned working lands. You know, a lot of people think of an innovation economy as based on technology, which does infuse all parts of our economy, but how it manifests itself and drives an economy is different across each region. I've done a lot of work over the years, as Robert mentioned, in food and ag and the economic cluster, the whole value chain. And there's so much opportunity in this sector. And it starts with protecting and enhancing our working lands writ large. And so actually, that's a cluster priority in our region, but in almost all the regions. And so it's really elevating the opportunity in the bioeconomy writ large, which includes biomass and all these other opportunities, but working food systems, new building materials, all these kind of things that are coming from our natural resources that we can use to add value.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the different regions needing different things, because like for the Catalyst grant, Valley Vision chose an approach where there were more than a handful, but it was bigger funding. But the Sierra Business Council is a convener of a different region, and they chose to do many more funding in smaller amounts to get that worked for their region. So.
And the idea of the Catalyst grant really is to acknowledge that there are a lot of good, really ideas out there, but some of them are not ready yet. So the Catalyst grants are to help people begin to get projects ready. And there is attention to the process because most of the population resides in the cities. We have Sacramento is the core, but we have a lot of mid-sized cities and suburbs, and then we have our rural communities. Something like over 80% of our region geographically is in working lands or some kind of open space. So how do we honor that urban-rural interdependence? And the criteria from the state calls for investing in disadvantaged communities, but in rural areas that can be quite diffused. In urban areas, a lot of the communities don't have the capacity even to do the projects. So it's kind of a tension that everybody's working on, is how to build capacity. So the Catalyst grants are really geared to do that. So for the next round of funding, when you get more into implementation, you'll have ready projects.
Yeah, I know. It's like when we were doing co-working, and I'd collaborate with co-working facilities in Sacramento, and they're like, "Oh, we do this and that, and we host these type of specialized events." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd get 2 people there, maybe that would come, because we just don't have the population to do it." So it is curious as far as Sacramento being in the the greater Sacramento region, where it does seem like some things are very different here.
Yes, but you have space. You have a beautiful space that's an innovation center. And when you talked about 87 companies, I don't think people realize, the kind of energy that is here and the entrepreneurship side. One thing that happened about 20 years ago, the state, in another cycle of planning, did these regional roundtables, which created a statewide strategy bottom up from the region. And then some folks up in Humboldt County and the California Endowment said, we want a rural focus. I'm a paper person. I have some extra copies. I'm really proud of this report. It's a special rural report, innovation, entrepreneurship, and collaboration. And what it really did was pull out for rural areas why entrepreneurship is so important, because traditional economic development focuses on attraction. But how do we build and support the people who are in the community, who have ideas, who know what they want to do, and can move forward? So this idea is you are bringing to life. It takes a long time sometimes, but I'm seeing the manifestation of this vision.
Cool. And would you be willing to like, if, put that on the table in the back?
I got-
If
I-
no one, if everyone promises not to take the
I
copy
have some extra
themselves.
copies, too.
Okay, cool, yeah. Because I want
I
a
have
copy
a-
of that.
My
yeah.
library is Area 51. It's called Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Collaboration and Economic Action Agenda for Rural California. And I'll tell you, one thing we did was analyze the disparity in it. I know it's, 20 years old. What can I tell you? No good acronyms. But what it did was it also talked about the disparities in investment in infrastructure across urban and rural areas and where growth is going. And this is where broadband got elevated actually a lot. We asked rural communities, what's the one infrastructure you need to thrive? And it was broadband. So that actually catalyzed a lot of state action, which Sarah Business Council and Tahoe Prosperity Center and us, we try to focus on that through the state. Not always easy, but
Yeah, it's a long haul. I mean, I've lived here for 25 years and they've been talking about broadband but we have a 400 megabit connection right now, asynchronous. So yay, that's broadband.
it's a short game and a long game.
Right,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, another thing about this area is we have like a really strong creative economy. You talk about 87 businesses over there, or the graduates from the different Sierra Commons programs. They're highly innovative, and we're going to hear from some of those folks today. But just know that we're surrounded, that we're surrounded by people from the creative community. And we have the Arts Council and other great organizations that support that. And Sierra Commons slice of the pie is the culinary arts. So how do you see the culinary arts helping if we strengthen the food web and strengthen the culinary arts in our area to uplift the whole local economy and resilience?
Yeah, I think that I see the food system as a critical economic driver and a pathway to economic opportunity. Hopefully, everybody eats. We have access to healthy, sustainable food sources. I know there are a lot of growing challenges in rural areas, but that leads to innovation. And this is where being part of a region is really important because we work with a whole network of emerging food hubs, food system partners. A lot of our focus is on institutional procurement. How can we take the capital that's in our hospitals and schools and other institutions, government institutions, the purchasing, turn that purchasing power into economic power for our communities and support the food entrepreneurs and the growers and the ranchers and others adding value and then feeding people. Culinary arts is critical to feeding people. And Rabbi David and others can really speak to that. It's it's a long journey, but the tides are turning. And even though there are some changes at some of the key funders like USDA, the state is investing in farm to school programs, in community food hubs. And one reason I'm excited about working with Sierra Commons is because Valley Vision through California Jobs First funded some planning for other food hubs, including leveraging food banks as locations to help smaller farmers and food producers have a place where food can be aggregated and distributed. So we want that market power, and that's local and regional. And I just want to say why Sierra Commons and other organizations like Sierra Business Council, SBDC, et cetera, are so important because, like you said, you could be the entrepreneur with the idea, but you need support. And all the research shows capacity support helps increase the chances for survival. There's so much more work now in the food system. In Sacramento, we have Alchemist Community Development Corporation that's done a model like you're working on. I think we're running out of time. But anyway, there's so much, and we invite you to come down and share with us and connect with our partners and bring partners up because we're in a learning network.
Totally. Are we out of time? I missed the cues. Oh, we got a few more minutes. Cool. So part of the the collaboration here is Sierra Commons has the general business igniter course, the food and the forest. The food and the forest I look at as working lands. But also at the table are people from finance and affordable housing, because it's just a huge blockage because you can't get workers, you can't have a tourist-based economy, you can't. So how does Valley Vision and what's your take on some solutions. I'm kind of
Yeah.
throwing this
Yeah,
a
no, that's
curveball.
okay. Another piece of paper I have about to fall down.
Oh,
It's a regional
Take
food,
time.
okay, regional food system action plan that we did through our community foundation in 2001. This has kind of been our roadmap. One of our priorities is to create a food system financing fund, a fund to fund. That model could be used to support other kind of things, including housing. We're trying to identify ways that we can take more ownership of the need to invest in our community. So it's been a haul, but we've looked at models around the country and we're working with a network of partners through USDA food business centers. And so that's a priority for us to try to figure out the ways that we can bring our financing community together. Valley Vision has been working with some of our banks and funders and others. How can we activate our community foundations and other philanthropy? This is investing in ourselves and investing in our communities, but we need the physical asset base to be able to invest.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have some folks in the room that they're trying to help make that happen.
Yeah.
So if you could like wave your magic wand, sprinkle fairy dust everywhere, and we're 3 years from now. What do you think what can be done? What's realistic that we can move forward on the fronts of working lands, on creating good jobs for people, especially young people
Mhm.
coming up, and get places for people to live that they can afford to be here.
Well, I take again from the food side, the entrepreneurship, that your products of your entrepreneurs are in the markets in the Sacramento region and beyond, that you have good broadband so you can market your products, that people come to visit you. You have food hubs and food centers where you are branded as a place where this creativity around your food system happens, and other aspects of your innovation economy. 2 weeks ago in Sacramento, we had Terra Madre, 165,000 people came from the Americas mostly. And in honor of Indigenous peoples today, it was Indigenous foodways, a lot of people from Central and South America. And we are going to have Terra Madre every other year. The home of that Mother Earth is in Italy, the slow food movement. So it really honors people creating just, fair, sustainable food. And I would love to see products from Nevada County at Terra Madre and Sierra Commons 2 years from now also.
Awesome. We'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah. We're also going to participate in the Sierra Harvest food fight. Missed out this year. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And one thing I wanted to say too is we were talking about this earlier, the Sierra Commons. You have a common space, but the commons also means the common good. And that's the regional stewardship aspect of this. And you are all regional stewards. Leslie, you talked about it, boundary crossers. That's the notion of that we all work together to create this beautiful, sustainable economy and quality of life for everyone. And I want to just compliment everything that you've done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was great having you. Thank you so much. And Trish isn't going anywhere, so let's
And Valley Vision is a resource for you. We're a connector and a resource too. We want to keep working with you, supporting you and learning from you. So thank you, Robert.
Thank you. All right, cool. We're just keeping it on time, keeping it on track. I think we're at the next section, which is Lakshmi's going to help us out with this one. Lakshmi is the secretary of the board of Sierra Commons. It's been amazing working with you, and thanks for whipping us into shape, keeping things going. You want to just take us through this exercise?
Yes, I would
Okay,
be very
thank you.
happy to. I'm so happy to be here as a newbie in Nevada County. And it feels like this amazing playground to see all of these diverse partners here and change makers all in one place. So I'm really excited to see how the day unfolds. And because this is a working session, we want to generate ideas. We want to talk about what the issues and barriers are, and also brainstorm some solutions together. And we are at the advantage of having cross-sector representation. So we have a little less than 30 minutes to do 2 working group sessions. Actually, each of them is about 30 minutes long. So I want to start off by first asking the table facilitators to raise their hands at each table. Perfect. Please take note. They will be guiding you through this first exercise, which will be the sort of the first part, and the second exercise will build on the first one. But we're going to ask folks to just introduce yourselves, talk about which sector you're representing, which organization you're representing, and then we'll take a few minutes to answer the question on what are the barriers and the challenges that your sector is currently facing. And it's a pretty open-ended question. You can answer it in terms of policy, resources, infrastructure, people. So very blue sky. You can come at this question through the view and lens of your individual organization. So the first few minutes just to reflect on some of those issues, and then the facilitator will guide you through a sort of report out. So each person has a chance to presence their ideas, and then eventually you will do a little prioritization to pick the top two barriers. And then in the second group session, we'll focus on trying to come up with potential solutions for each of those. So I will keep time at the overall level, but does anyone have any questions? All right, begin.
The microphone here, so it should be able to, yeah, if you have it there.
Cool.
Then you should. Well.
You good?
Give me a little test, Robert.
Yeah, we're just talking right here.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you to the people that are live streaming and enjoying us online.
Okay, that should be a good level. You good?
You get a special treat
Okay.
here.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
We're ready.
Okay, here we go. Camera is rolling.
Okay, cool. Hey, everyone online, and thanks for tuning in. And while the people in the room are doing some table exercises, I thought we could do some impromptu interviews. So I'm here with Carmen Lang.
Hi,
What's your business, Carmen?
my business is Hola Tortilla.
Hola Tortilla, yeah. Carmen has been working with Sierra Comets for quite some time and has an amazing tortilla tortilleria. Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you tell us about the business?
So we're a tortilla factory. We make organic tortillas without preservatives. That's like our main thing, that we don't put any fillers, any preservatives, any softeners, any kind of additives to our product. And that makes us stand out from any other tortilla product in the market.
So it seems like that's just how tortillas should be made.
Yes, that's,
Right.
that's how they should be made, but
Right.
not anymore, unfortunately.
Why?
The industry got too big, the industry got too greedy, you know, it's this big monopoly model where they want to have control of everything. And to do so, they have to alter the product so it has a longer shelf life and things like that.
Right. So your product, what's something that I know is unique about your product is that it's refrigerated.
It has to be refrigerated, and one of the benefits of not putting all those additives in it is that it makes it tastier.
Oh, they're so good. You make blue corn. What, so tell us your products.
We have white corn, blue corn tortillas, and we also make flour tortillas. We have a whole wheat, we have a plain flour, we have a spinach tortilla.
Oh,
We work with several restaurants here in the area, with schools in Placer County. Yeah.
yeah. And you're in Briar Patch,
We're in Briar Patch.
which is our
both
local co-op here.
Yeah, both locations. We don't do a lot of supermarkets because our product needs refrigeration. Some supermarkets won't take us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the refrigerator section now, that's not where the tortillas go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you make all these products and serve all the schools? And there's a lot of different channels you have your products in.
One of the biggest challenges for every business since the pandemic has been staffing. We started working with Pride Industries last year. We've been working with them over a year. It's a company that hires people with special needs,
Okay.
and they are very reliable. They're very loyal. So ever since then, we have had the opportunity to, I have had the opportunity to, you know, not be involved in the production and try to look elsewhere to make our business grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a business that you're a small business owner. You are building food security in our area. You're making healthy, great tasting food. Your food is making it to kids in schools, in restaurants, in the health food store, and your staff is people with special needs. Wow. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps you going, huh?
Yeah, it keeps me going. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So what's next? I mean,
We
Good.
still have room to grow. We have been approached by Contra Costa Unified School District.
wow.
We would love to go back into the co-op in Sacramento at the deli.
Uh-huh.
That is a big opportunity also. I will be reaching out to them pretty soon. So we have a little bit of room to grow. I would like to fill up that space, and then we'll see if we need to move to a bigger location or.
So if you got those jobs, you would still have capacity in your current factory?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Cool. And then any bigger than that?
anything after that, we would have to look for a new location.
Wow. And how does the transportation work for you if you start expanding into other, farther away?
We, right now, as a business, small business, I have my amazing staff and I'm doing the deliveries. At some point, we'd have to buy a delivery vehicle so we could, hire someone to do the deliveries so we can go further away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Like you must get some help. How do you get some business help? You must have
I
some
got
help.
a
Oh,
lot
this
of
is a
help.
setup here. Yeah.
I got
Double setup.
enormous help through Sierra Comments. Really, I was about to throw the towel. I was really thinking about quitting
A couple
a
times.
couple times.
Couple times, yeah.
When I finally reached out to Sierra Commons, and they have been tremendous help. I really have tremendous grateful feelings towards them. And yeah, through them is that I found pride, is that I found funding, is that I have moral support, everything that a small business owner needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, moral support, like people don't often associate that with, business advisors or business education. How did you get moral support? How do you think that would happen?
With one-on-one meetings, people don't talk about that in like this business world. There's a tough people, strong people. We don't talk about our feelings, but the truth of it is that it's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. And I think it's very, very helpful to be able to speak and say what you're going through. It's not therapy exactly, but it's like, it's an outlet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very needed outlet, that it's not at home where you're like pestering your partner with.
Yeah.
your
I've actually
problems.
advised married couples.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to say here. I think I'll just stay neutral. It's like it goes a little too outside. I don't want to take sides on some of these things. So,
Yeah. Well, it's part of the running a business. It gets very emotional.
yeah. So you're at a spot where some people and some of the people that Sierra Commons works with would only dream that they would be able to get there. So what words of wisdom do you have to maybe someone that is similar to you, that has a passion and wants to start, but doesn't know quite how to do it?
Get the help. Really, really, for me, when I started, I had a lot of passion about this product, which made me go blindly towards getting it going. But if I would have looked for help earlier,
Uh-huh.
starting of the business, I think it would have been easier. Although I'm very stubborn and I chose a product, I chose it because I lived with it all my life and I couldn't find something similar here. But it's a product that, in the business sense of this meeting, it's unique. I don't have competition.
No competition.
No competition.
Well, at the quality level.
At
you're
the
doing-
quality level
yeah.
that we're doing. So I would say, look for advising help, definitely. Look for a product that will stand out. So you are not trying to redefine black thread, as to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So is there anything you would, besides getting help earlier, is there any like major, not mistakes, but things you might do differently?
Look for help earlier.
You look for help
Definitely.
earlier. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
You get this amazing idea that you're very passionate about and you just want to see it come to life.
Yeah.
But I went into business without knowing anything about business, and it was just pure intuition, which it was good that I follow my intuition.
Yeah.
But there are some very specific steps that it would be very, very helpful to know at a beginning stage.
Yeah.
Because you have that fire.
Yeah.
You also need a cold head.
Yeah. I'm always amazed when I see your product line, all those different tortillas you mentioned. Plus, I don't think you mentioned the salsa.
Oh, the salsa.
Plus tamales.
Tamales. Yeah, but the salsas, it's a kind of like a little small part of the operation, and the tamales, we start making them in the pandemic. That's what saved us from closing our doors.
really?
Yeah, because with the pandemic, we lost all our wholesale
Oh,
accounts
yeah.
from one day to the other.
Uh-huh.
And people were buying food like crazy, that situation. So we made tamales. They're easy to eat, they're easy to sell.
Uh-huh.
So that's what kept us going.
Yeah.
at the
And people
beginning.
like coming in. You
Yeah.
still allow people to come in and
Yes.
as an advisor, sometimes I'm like, hey, like, are you sure? You want to be open to the public? But you're such a people person.
Yeah.
You can't not do that. So what other kind of like now that you're at this level, what other type, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but is there additional help? Like what would be the next level of community support or business advising support or financial support, or what would help take you to the next level?
I think people, it would be, it's because there's such a spread out tortilla industry, that when I do demos, people come and tell me like, I never tried a tortilla without preservatives before. So it makes me realize that it's been generations that have been eating this overly processed food. So I think that education would come in handy, educating the public about what real food is.
Yeah.
And so they could be more open, especially like institutionally, like some schools is like, yeah, we love our product, we cannot afford it.
Right.
They're like, yeah, but the product that you're feeding your kids is full of additives. That's
Right.
not the kind of food you want to give them. So I think education of the public would be a great help too. And
What's that thing? You know, pay at the grocery store now or pay at the doctor's office later or something like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the kids.
Yeah. And, the more we grow, the better prices we can offer.
Right. So have you gone to the school and seen the kids eat your products?
Actually, this week I'm going to Western Placer Unified School District to they have a lunch date where the producers of their food show up to serve the kids.
Ah.
So I'm gonna have the opportunity to actually, feed them
Yeah.
my product and prepare their lunches and feed them.
Oh, that's so fun.
I think
Will
it
you
is-
please take some pictures?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you might have to get releases, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Just, oh, that's so cool. Cause I've just, I've seen you grow and it's just really exciting to see that happen.
Yeah.
What, do you have any product that you're like, okay, the next product's gonna be, or is it top secret?
No, people kept asking for years, for a non-grain tortilla wrap.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't had time to experiment with that, but now that my, staff is more stable, I think I can start experimenting with that and maybe we can come up with a grain-free tortilla.
Grain free. Awesome. Oh, okay, got it. We're winging it here, folks. Can you tell? Can you tell people? No, this is awesome. So what's happening in the room right now is that there's just some people discussing, like identifying their top sector issues. So if you're, you could be a programmer or whatever business you're in, you probably have some things that are standing in your way of success. And even if you know it in your head, it might be helpful to write that down for the rest of the process of today. What do you think some of the top priorities are for you in, not priorities, but issues that are getting in the way of you growing?
Staffing was one of the biggest issues. Yeah, because it was just impossible to keep, staff.
Yeah.
People were coming in and out, even if you offer, good pay, like for some of them, it's, in my case, it's a factory job. It's labor intensive.
Yeah.
It's repetitive work. So not everybody's willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew someone that did very not repetitive work and they got a side job doing that because they just said they just wanted that. It's almost like it was relaxing to them.
Yeah, we could be.
I should send them your way.
Yeah.
I can remember who that was. Yeah. Well, cool. I think that there's probably a huge opportunity for your grain-free products. I remember when you first started taking classes, you would drive to San Francisco or Oakland because you had to use that specific masa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you still do that?
No, I'm working with, one of the local, distributors, so
Uh-huh.
they bring it out for me. I don't have to do it myself.
That's great. You don't need a loading dock?
I, I know,
Uh-huh.
no, but, it's one of the things that, it's really hard to source the main ingredients. You would think that because we're in California, and near Sacramento, that corn would be, masa flour would be
Yeah.
more available. Nope, it isn't. It isn't. So it's hard to source. Um, and yeah, but that's one of the things I learned, how to deal with that and how to, I had to learn and, find the ways to source it. I learned that because at the beginning I was speaking directly to the manufacturer, and I didn't realize that they were doing me this huge favor of selling me a
Uh-huh.
pallet of massive flour.
Thanks to them.
Yeah, instead of trailer full,
What do you think if you used baby corn? Could you make baby food?
No,
No, it's not,
Doesn't work like
it's
that.
not related.
No.
Okay. Just wondering about that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then, of course, the dream of every tortilleria would be to use local corn, do your own nixtamal, because if it's not nixtamalized, you cannot make tortillas.
Ah.
And then, make the tortillas with that. But it does take a village to have such an operation.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
Well, I hope the people that are watching online are enjoying this. And that if there's any suggestions, I think Jason has been staffing the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And we're gonna get rolling with some group report back in a few minutes. Kelly, how many minutes do we have left here? Excuse me, Kelly? 4 minutes. Okay, yeah, I think we'll catch you back. Why don't you take a 4-minute bio break and we're gonna reposition for the next segment. And thank you so much, Carmen. Awesome. I'm really happy to see you here. You. Thank you.
And we're out.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, we have to
Yeah.
because the mic is right on the top here, so, yeah.
Is this the same mic that was up there?
Yeah,
Okay. Was Kelly really hurting?
I don't know.
What?
Kelly?
Oh, are we live right now? Oh.
Oh. As long as we don't hear. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. We'll probably go back with the back out there.
Thanks, everyone. We can start to wrap up the conversation, and we have a bio break until about 11:20. So please return back to your seats by then for our next session, which is going to be a lightning round and a panel discussion. Hi again. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope the conversation's been robust, and we will continue this after the bio break. We have a lightning round session, which is a panel discussion, and then we'll have the group two, second part of this exercise. Thank you.
We are digging the brain stuff that's going on here. I just want you to be aware that are moving into our bio break, so feel free to chill, but we're going to keep going with the programming. So if you want to take a break, feel free to do that. All right, people, we got 4 minutes until we start with the lightning round.
Hello, hello. We have about 2 more minutes until the next session begins.
Can you invite the lightning round people up?
Lightning round folks, please start to approach the stage so we can begin the next session. Participants, whenever you're ready, please take your seats.
Yeah. All right, have a seat, folks. One of these chairs is kind of wobbly. I don't know, it's like a Russian, let's let Tom actually go on. Don't fall off. There's no good thing there.
Stephanie Williams. Stephanie Williams to the stage. Okay, for those of you who have ever taken a Sierra Commons class, you know I always say I love to start on time and I love to end on time, and we're like 1 minute over. So the folks out in the foyer, we'd love to have you come back in. I know there's cookies out there and stuff, but Tony Tone, anyone else out there, please come on in. I'm not gonna. Okay, we're really rolling here, okay? So this is happening. I don't want to do a huge introductions because each person up here only has 4 minutes to talk. Kelly, are you ready with the time with the hook? Kelly Marino, if you could help us keep time here, that'd be great. We get 4 minutes each per speaker. And everyone here is exceptional in their own way. I'm going to let Coulter kind of lead it off, talk about Elixir. If you could just come here and you can kind of like TED Talkie and just stand right here and take it away.
All right. Hey, great to be here. Thanks so much, Robert. My name is Coulter Merrick. I started my entrepreneurial journey, well, quite some time ago, but I started here in Nevada City about 15 years ago. I went into the Business Uniter program with Robert, and I was going in there, and I was like, hey, I'm going to sell tea, and everyone kind of looked at me like, yeah, all right, buddy. And just as an entrepreneur, on a basic capitalist thing, they kind of talk about, hey, what's your widget, so to speak, kind of the tea, and it's like, what's your mechanism to pull resources from whatever you put out there? So as I kind of began my journey, and also the interests that I have, which is really about people and community and connecting and finding our higher selves through things that motivate us. I found kind of right away my widget was really what I was doing was creating an experience for people, and so the widget became the people. It's like, how do I enrich the people around me to like get them motivated, to get them inspired, to want to connect, and kind of what community is about in that sense. And so, I kind of learned right away that like, the stronger we are together, the more capable we become, and especially kind of being in the food business. And it just give you an idea a little bit about what my business is. It's an elixir bar. And, I think we kind of grew up, in community where going to the bar, so to speak, drinking alcohol was a way that we kind of like, broke down our social barriers, we connected, we, met the community in that way. And as we evolved, my business kind of was a way to, kind of teach a little bit about nature and health and wellness, and also bring that social connection. And it was very innovative at the time. It's really great to see a lot of people kind of shifting and creating this new box around, things that are making conscious choices for themselves, and doing things that are a little more healthy, and a little bit more, still related to the people in that sense. So yeah, basically kind of the gist of what I want to get at is how do we enrich ourselves, and how is, this concept of business just part of an extraction process, and if you kind of look at like a municipal bank or something like that, where the wealth is kind of built within the community, how do we keep enriching ourselves in that way? And that's through the people and through the experience. And so as we look at our town, it's like, how do we create these experiences that people are going to attract and want to contribute and build, build some place that they want to be, so they have the motivation to kind of do it. Obviously in a small town, we have a limited kind of resource. Some of the challenges are, is my market big enough? Being geographically kind of isolated, do I have the ability to expand my business big enough and distribute out there? And so my business evolved, in a few ways. I've started a Bevco, which is basically a manufacturing of a bottled beverage that I distribute here locally. We're still self-distributing, and getting out into the other region, trying to find a way to go into these larger markets. We created another product that's, kind of in the e-commerce world to kind of get out and, circumvent some of the distribution channels. Yeah, basically really wanting to keep it local, our manufacturing facility that we just built here. And, we're really looking to start getting into consumer packaged goods, so we can kind of take the tribe that we built and go out and, bring more wealth into the community and tap into these larger markets, but still with a focus on our community. So anyway, it's been a great journey, and really stoked to be a part of Nevada City and everything that's happening here. Thanks for being here.
Good job, Coulter. Thank you so much. And man, Coulter his business is growing, like really, like going bonkers, and chose to double down on Nevada City and keep the manufacturing right in the Seven Hills area. So that's so cool, and creating jobs in the food industry for us. Good jobs. Who wants to go next? Tom's looking at me. Tom Durkin. Tom is like a #1 student, and just a agitator. He's a get shit done kind of guy. Tom Durkin.
Hi, I am a graduate of the Business Igniter 10, and I learned a lot. The main thing I learned is I'm not a businessman, not at all. But I am a bipolar screenwriter, and being a bipolar gave me a lot of experience and resilience, because my life blows up about every 3 or 4 years, and I have to start all over again. Often homeless, have to claw my way out. But the interesting thing about thing from the 30s to my 70s was that every time I crashed, I came out better than I went. I had a better job. Started out here at 79. I came up here to go into construction, but that didn't work out. And all I had left was a camera, a bicycle, and a typewriter. And I managed to parlay that into a job as a reporter at the Auburn Journal, then editor of the Colfax Record. Then I had a major crash in 1987. It was a workers' comp claim, psychiatric claim, and I hate that. But I turned out to be the best thing that happened. I learned as a screenwriter, you take a disaster and you learn to exploit it. Make the worst thing that happened to you the best thing that happened to you. So even though I crashed, I got my Wowzer, okay. I got a workers' compensation settlement. They wanted to send me to a psychiatric hospital. I said, no, I don't think I'll work. So I went to Sonoma State and got some more education because I had 2 degrees from UCLA. And when I ran out of workers' comp money and scholarship money, I got a job at the Business Journal in Sacramento. Got laid off. And the disaster, but my editor wrote me a letter that got me a job with twice the salary at the state capitol covering employment law for California. And that went south. And I ended up went into high tech and ended up working for Xilinx, a company in San Jose. And that was a great job in 2004. I lost my house, my marriage, everything went south, and I did not recover. I ended up homeless again. But in 2010, I started working with homeless people at Hospitality House. Did that for 3 years, and then I was a nomadic. I was on the bus, off the bus, and that didn't work out either. And I drifted, and in 2018, I went to a business igniter, learned a lot, but didn't become a businessman at all. And I did inherit affordable housing. I was living in a trailer. It's illegal. And I had to, I went to the Board of Supervisors in 2019 and suggested that we legalize trailers and RVs. Well, that didn't work. And I got a column in 2021 in the newspaper, and I started writing, people took me seriously, which is a big surprise. And I became a leader in affordable housing. And right now, last year, we got Title 25, owner-built rehousing, and tiny homes on wheels. We did not get, okay. Well, we did not get all homes on wheels, but we had so many people show up at the Board of Supervisors. We were polite, persistent, and relentlessly reasonable. We're now working on a ordinance that's going before the Planning Commission in November and before the Board of Supervisors in February. So we became a nonprofit just last month. So we're a legal 501c3, and we hope you support us in what we're doing. Because if you do the money, directing the money will come, but it don't come easy. And I just want to leave you one thing. Never give up. And it says on my wall, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Thank you.
What a great story, Tom, and thank you so much for everything you're doing. You ready? I guess so. Stephanie Williams.
Hi. All right. Well, I'll start by sharing that I am a forest entrepreneurship graduate. It's how I connected with Sierra Commons, 2024. Yeah. So I'm here representing the Forest Biomass Business Center, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Camptonville Community Partnership, a small rural nonprofit located in the Tahoe National Forest. The FBBC is a wood utilization campus. Its anchor tenant is a community scale 5 megawatt biomass to energy facility. So today, work is being done on the Tahoe, led by the North Yuba Forest Partnership, to reduce catastrophic wildfire risk and restore the forest to a healthier and more resilient state. This restoration work creates an enormous amount of high hazard, low value forest fuel, biomass. And the FBBC provides a place to take some, not all, but some of this material and turn it into value-added products like energy, biochar for regenerative farming practices, wood fiber that can be a substitute for peat moss in the horticultural industry. By doing this, we are directly supporting these larger efforts of reducing risk of catastrophic wildfires and creating healthier, more resilient forests in our area. Additionally, the Forest Biomass Campus will also help strengthen a struggling rural economy by providing a place for entrepreneurs and innovators to build businesses, which then creates living wage jobs, reduces unemployment, thereby creating more economically resilient communities. So it gets even better, can it? Woo. The bioenergy facility itself directly supports California's green energy and climate resilience goals. By turning forest waste into renewable energy, it reduces our reliance on fossil fuels, cuts emissions while stewarding our forests, adds to grid reliability. For me, what's most exciting about our project is it's replicable. So other rural forested communities can adopt this framework, creating a network of forest-smart, community-strong solutions. I wasn't supposed to rehearse, so I wrote it all down.
Amazing, thank you. It's so impressive. It's amazing. Thanks. And our last but not least, Baz Cools, come on up here from GeoShip. And if you could stand over here, that'd be cool. And I'm gonna just give you the mic and let you tell everybody about the awesome stuff that's happening right here around the Bodhi Hive and in Grass Valley and hopefully all over the world soon. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Bas. I'm an artist, designer, educator, and also co-founder at GeoShip. GeoShip has been quite an interesting journey, and now we're here, and we are starting to find some momentum. And the next prototype is actually going to be built right across the road from the Bodhi Hive here. And what is GeoShip? Well, we're developing affordable, sustainable, healthy homes. And that is quite an interesting challenge because most of the time you see affordable, but it's not really healthy, or you see healthy homes, which like totally not affordable. And as in like natural home building is like awesome. And but how to make this, how to bring this within reach for people. And that's what we're exploring. We're not there yet, and we're simply just starting. What's happening now is in the last 2 years, our team has grown from around like 3 people to about 30 people that are all there for the mission, focusing on how to get to this next step of this business. The next step is happening here across the road. So that's going to be a two bedroom, 2 bathroom, fully designed home. Starting at about, I'm just going to give you the price because everybody always asks. Starting at about $500,000, which is totally not really affordable. At the same time, that's where we start. That's a price that's basically on market with what new build housing costs these days. And over the next 5 to 8 years, we'll slowly decrease that price from $300 a square foot for a finished home to about $100 a square foot for a finished home. And that's not just a finished home, a random home, you know. That's a home that's actually fireproof, that's made of non-toxic materials, that's radically sustainable. So about 60 to 80% less embodied and operational carbon. And besides that, that home is also reproducible. So this is not, this is a technology to mass produce natural homes. And in a little while from now, as I said, like we get to that affordability. So please, like I would say like stay tuned with what's happening across the road here. There's lots of unknowns for us because, as I said, we're simply a company in our exploration phase. And how that works is like, we simply have to practice. We have to practice more and practice to be able to get better, to be able to lower that price. And so what happens here across the road is basically our first completion of our full cycle of learning. That's from engineering to manufacturing to installing to actually using the home. And understanding that full cycle, we can actually start to innovate and start to like learn more about how to improve that cycle. And the next and the next and the next. However, it's going to take us a while. We need a lot of practice, but it's happening, and we find a lot of support here in the area. Always looking for more people that want to live in this early dealership homes. So yeah, come to me if you have more questions. Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you so much. That was so great. So this is just a slice of innovation and what the community is doing here. And every one of you out there is doing the same thing, but there's just a illustration of what's happening and innovation and GeoShip. Man, I think 8,000 investors or something like that, growing the jobs. It's really a technology solution to a difficult problem, and they're keeping it here in Nevada County. And Alice, sorry, where is Alice? Yeah, they do a Friday get together sometimes. And totally talk to Alice about coming out there and checking out the factory because it'll blow your mind. It'll totally blow your mind. So what's happening? Lakshmi is going to lead us through another round of exercises. We're going to do a report out this time, so you can share your info, and then I think we're going to have some lunch, right? Okay, so you want to come up here, Lakshmi? Thank you so much. And thanks to all the lightning rounders.
Hi again, everyone. We're just going to continue a conversation, the table conversation that we started. So again, we have 30 minutes for the session. You're going to review your top priority barriers that you identified, the 1 or 2, and start to brainstorm solutions around them. So we'll spend 15 minutes doing that and leave 15 minutes for report out. So table facilitators, be prepared to spend 2 minutes each reporting out on the challenges that you identified and then what your solution is so that we can hear kind of across the board what these ideas are. And I will cue you all on time. Thank you.
Permissions and authorities.
Oh, we're streaming. We're
Okay.
doing it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this impromptu. So
So boards, commissions, and authorities are.
Okay, well,
housed in the treasurer's
let's
office.
start with the introduction. You want to
Okay.
just go ahead and introduce yourself and what brought you here?
What brought me here? Well, we get to share about our CalCap programs today. I am the outreach, marketing, and legislation manager for a financing authority known as CPCFA.
Okay, and that CPCFA, what is that? And you didn't mention your name.
Oh, I'm Allison French Tubo. Lots of long names and stuff here. So hopefully today the governor approves legislation that would make that acronym stand for Capital Programs and Climate Financing Authority, which reflects what we do now. But in statute right now, our name is California Pollution Control Financing Authority, which makes people think that we might be in charge of landfills like Cal Recycle or maybe toxic waste like Department of Toxic Substances Control, but really it's the name of a type of financing instrument, a tax exempt bond that we were first created to
Okay.
issue back in the 70s. Tax code has changed. Legislature has given us lots of other duties, but our name still.
Okay,
Works back.
what's going to be your new acronym? Yes.
So that would be the Capital Programs and Climate Financing Authority. So
Okay.
cross your fingers for us that it gets
Wow,
signed.
it's gonna today.
Yeah, today's the last day it can be approved.
Okay.
So it got through both sides of the California legislature,
Yeah.
and we're hoping that, the governor decides it's a good idea too, so that we can spend more time explaining to people about the programs we do offer and less having to orient them as to how it is we have this name.
Okay, so you probably got by now a sense of the group of the people in the room.
Yes,
And we're in Nevada County or regionally.
yes.
So how could we access those funds?
So-
How could that impact what we're doing?
What we offer and what we have offered since 1994 is a variety of risk management tools to lenders, only available to them for the loans they make to small businesses or nonprofits. And for us, a small business starts as few as one, like you're the sole proprietor
Yeah.
or you're, we don't have to exclude loans that are to businesses that don't have payroll employees. It can
Yeah.
be just that sole
Cool.
person, all the way up to.
We have a lot of those here.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. And actually, California has so many small businesses and so many of them fall into what we use the term very small business, which is 9 or fewer employees.
Yeah, I've been looking for data on that. And the report I quoted earlier today was getting close to it. There was something called non-employee companies or something like that.
Okay. I haven't heard that acronym
Yeah.
before. We get our definition currently from the US Treasury
Okay,
definition, so that's what we're using, very small businesses. But anyway, when we work with lenders, we're giving them this risk management tool. We're in the same arena as the Small Business Administration
okay,
and the Small Business Loan Guarantee, which our partner iBank offers. But we're a little bit different. What we would say is we're a little bit different in terms of one, we're kind of more behind the scenes, and that directly relates to how we work with lenders. We're not requiring them to take their applications on our loan application
I see.
form, like SBA is. And we're not setting out to them, these are the underwriting requirements you must use. Or we have a loan application review committee. So what we would say is, we're not trying to step on anybody's toes. If a small business or a nonprofit has found a lender that's willing to work with them, keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah.
But we're about access to capital. And so historically, we have brought a lot of access. Most of the loans enrolled are to those businesses that qualify as very small business. The upside of what we offer lenders and thus those borrowers is that we're not setting out all the parameters that they have to work under. There's some basic ones they have to be, they have to have an oversight entity, that type of thing. But it means that lenders can be like, yeah, we choose to be more flexible about such and such, credit score or whatever.
Sure. I went to a SBDC, Northern California SBDC conference, and there was a panel that I listened to of alternative lenders, and some of them were saying like, we just go off your last 3 months bank accounts, or we don't look at certain your credit score or
Right.
things
Right,
like or
exactly.
bankruptcies or things like that.
And that's
The loan amount is lower,
right.
but they have a very low default. Right.
Because they're usually providing the technical assistance hand in hand
Yeah.
with that. Now, we're sort of, the way I like to think of us conceptualized, I'm old enough to have been around when they set up this program, but I wasn't involved.
All right.
But essentially, it's sort of the interplay between the lending in, industry or community, which they're out to make money too, right? Even the nonprofits have to keep on getting their loans paid back so they can make
Sure,
the next loan.
Sure.
And they have to somehow cover their expenses. You
Yeah.
can't ask people like, hey, would you like a career in this? But by the way, we won't be able to pay you.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
So anyhow, it's, the policymakers saying, well, can't you guys do more? And them saying, well, look, SBA is cool, but it has these constraints, and small
Yeah.
business loan guarantee is cool, but it has these constraints.
Yeah.
And so policymakers kind of coming back with like, okay, well, if you say that you're really concerned about risk, here's another risk management tool.
So, the governor has is it a bill on his
Yeah,
desk?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He's deciding, what are people whispering in his ear that they don't want him to sign? Why would they not want this?
So I don't get to work directly with the legislature because, as I said, we're housed in the treasurer's office. The state treasurer's office has a legislative shop, so they conduct those relationships. But to our knowledge, there's nobody against it because it basically will just make things a little bit more clearer to constituents, right? And frankly, make my job a little bit easier, that instead of fielding questions about what we aren't, we can
Right.
spend more time on what we
Yeah.
are, which in effect, adds more value to my position, right?
Yeah.
I don't get paid more or less depending on what the questions are, but ideally, the more time I can spend talking about what we offer is better. And what we offer is programs that lenders can enroll as small as they want. The smallest we've probably ever seen is 500 these days. About
500.
about the smallest we see these days is $1,200.
That's really micro,
It is.
micro mini.
It's really, exactly. And so we are providing support for that. That particular program tops out at 5 million. And then we have another program that starts at 25,000 and goes all the way up to 20 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And that program is kind of cool because in that program, so in the one that I said, that you said micro mini.
Yeah. What's
that
that program called?
That is called CalCap for small business.
Okay.
So, I mean, these are all for small business, but that one really narrows it down. And it's really cool. We don't tell lenders how to use it. These things, they overlap what they cover, and that's to let lenders manage their portfolio as they see fit. But the one about that is it's really low friction for the lenders because they don't have to do any paperwork before they make the loan.
Mhm.
They do the paperwork with us after.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be used, most of the lenders, again, we don't tell them how to use, but we get anecdotal information like, hey, we use this when credit scores are below such and
Yeah.
such.
So what's an example of someone that wants, a $2,200 loan?
Like what
Yeah.
types of
What,
things?
yeah.
that
What
we
are they, like, what are they asking for?
They are doing some sort of direct sales, like maybe at a flea market, or maybe they're doing some sort of crafting or creation and they need, they're like, hey, I do these holiday fairs, right? And
Right.
I make candles or something, but I need, in order to sell hopefully $5,000 worth of candles, I need to buy $1,000 worth
Right.
of supplies.
Yeah.
And so, they might be going to the lender
Yeah.
for that.
It sound, I work with Kiva.
Mhm.
It's, social enterprise, and that's some
Yes.
of the things mostly in different countries. I
Right.
need to buy supplies for my whatever store, help me
Right.
get up and going.
Right, exactly. And so we can't recommend lenders, but if you were to ask me, you could ask me and I could, I don't have it right in front of me, but I could pull like, hey, what are the lenders that have made loans under $5,000 in the
Yeah.
past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I could pull that up and it would be, we can't guarantee that they're going to go make, another loan to somebody,
Right.
but we could say that's probably a good starting place for you. Because what I was talking about is like, hey, we don't want to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah.
We're not going to lie. Our process to work with our lenders is a little bit more laborious because of the fact that they're all using their own underwriting. So I can't tell you for sure that like the first lender on the list
Yeah.
is going to be interested in
Right.
what you're doing. But I can say they're all getting to use their own, niches. So if these other venues aren't working for you, try getting involved in what these niches are. We're also constantly working to try to make sure more technical assistance providers have information about our programs. And in fact, that's one thing we always ask people to help. It's like, if you remember nothing else about us,
Okay, this is
CPCFA
perfect wrap.
yeah, perfect. That we're a third option for getting help making loans to small businesses and nonprofits. So that's all you need to know. CPCFA, small business, credit enhancement, Google that, and that will push you on over to us. And we have information for folks who are small businesses and folks who are from financial institutions.
Okay, so say like, is there a specific website or you're just suggesting people?
Well, the thing is that it's very long. It's www.treasurer.ca.gov/CPCFA/.
Okay,
CalCap.
okay, you got that?
Yeah. So otherwise, Google CalCap, California small business, and you'll get
Thank you
there.
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Large sharing, and so each facilitator, right, will have 2 minutes to report out on one priority barrier and the solutions that came to mind.
Yep.
So is there anybody who wants to go first? No, I don't see any hands. So I'm going to start over here in the corner. Table number 1.
All right, I'm Jim Williams. I'm on the board with Sierra Commons. We had a lot of lively, interesting discussions from different perspectives. And we focused a lot on overregulation and to expand on that, pairing policymakers and what kind of regulations are being modified, developed, but really pairing that and acknowledging that we're in a real world, and pairing the businesses that day in and day out propel our society and civilizations forward, and how do you connect the policies to make those businesses successful and not burden them and tie their hands, and but everybody has the same goals on the biomass front. What is the practical challenges of getting fuel to the plants and versus burning a slash pile and making it check all the boxes and be successful? So that's one example. But just making sure that technology, policy making, and acknowledging and respecting existing businesses that have been around for decades, and creating a landscape where they can be successful and continue to support the society and areas for the future.
Thank you, Jim. Right on time. I'm going to go here with table 8. Who's the table facilitator? Perfect.
While you're giving your comment. Yeah, on the next table.
We really hit on 2 things, and I think one of them envelops the other. But the first thing we hit on was healthcare cost and accessibility. But our mothership was, we started calling it cost of life, not cost of living, cost and quality of life. And that entails family care, child and elder care. It restricts people from doing things here. Alex made a really good point that you get locked into a job, maybe even a low wage job, because you can't afford to leave it and start a business. So housing, human care, quality of life includes, access and support of the arts. So we've solved all those problems. Oh, and one other thing was Fair Plan, and how that makes housing so much more expensive, so insanely much more expensive. One thing Katie suggested is, we build more ADUs. We give people an opportunity to almost create a live workspace with their home and their property. And I know that's something that's being worked on with the RV initiative. Also something that, people might give or take is centralizing building in town. The infrastructure's in place, the transportation's in place, and the fire issues are less. Also, I'm going to go real quick. Expand family daycare. There was a San Francisco program that went from 6 to 12. They allowed from 6 kids to 12 kids. So opening that up, and that can be funded with grants because grants are the golden goose. Build fair plan costs into, the high risk homes, and then obviously invest in the arts to support the arts.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Hillary here at Table 7. We have an incredible collaborative group here, and I thank all of them for their input and solving the world's problems today. Our two main common challenges that we identified are affordable housing, and I'm just going to say it the way it was said at the table, but the co-cannibalization of our nonprofit community, especially in the arts. And I said it another way, which is that there's no professional support infrastructure for nonprofit small businesses. I don't want to negate what the Nevada County Arts Council is doing. I think that's our actual best infrastructure we have. But it would be really cool to have something like a healthcare system for our nonprofit workers. So the other thing we identified, of course, was affordable housing. And the solutions we came up with are universal basic income, tax billionaires at a very, very high rate, and nationalized disaster insurance.
Already, I'm done. Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Carr from Sierra Business Council. Our table has representatives from small business, social services, working lands, and government. So we're a great cross sector here. If you want to visit us later, we're open till 2. And we identified a lot of the same challenges that came under the umbrella of geographic isolation. Our county has a high cost to participate in a larger market. We have transportation challenges. We have challenges to attract talent and caregivers, and the sourcing of excellent talent can really set you apart as a small business. And so it is a big challenge to address, and limited resources here in our rural county. So we solved all those challenges as well in 15 minutes. We talked about really leaning into the regional strategy, days like this where we can connect with other organizations that serve more counties than just Nevada County, and how to increase that sense of collaboration across counties that experience similar challenges, and having cooperative sharing of costs and having that work towards sustainable choices for your business. And then I'm going to read it as it was said at our table, making choices based on what is possible in order to scale. So identifying what is possible and not possible for your organization, and making choices that allow you to scale within that framework. And we are adaptable, nimble, and survive. We will survive. Yes, gritty. That's it.
Thank you. Kimberly Parker, Nevada County Economic Development Office. We also had a diverse group of government, nonprofits, state representative, housing, healthcare. So it was a great conversation. Our two that we really focused on were housing and workforce. With the housing, we talked about all forms of housing, are really needed, but that are, a challenge around this is a stability. And until we can prove that we kind of are a good investment, it's hard to get outside investors to come in, especially when we've got some challenges.
that we have. We need to be able to demonstrate that we're a viable market. And I think things beginning to happen, like what's happening with GeoShip and the project that's over in Loma Rica and others, are really starting to kind of show that we do have some opportunity. Our wonderful state representative person here also talked about California tax credit allocations, which is a possible solution. And then we talked about, wouldn't it be great with our housing market for Sierra Commons to look at some kind of an incubator around kind of housing and housing products. I had someone that I've been meeting with that has a housing product that they are working to get out into the community. And so maybe some form of an incubation project around that.
Hi, Tom Larson. I'm an advisor to the board for the Sierra Commons. And we had a rougher time than everybody else did because your stuff, all came up at the table and we said, so what are we going to talk about? And what we decided that we want to talk about for a moment is the funding challenge. And not the funding challenge of getting grants and not the funding challenge of all the other normal channels, but the fact that there's no real funding coming from the people of Grass Valley, Nevada County. It's coming from the outside places, which is fantastic. But how can these businesses, all these startup businesses that we're looking at, where do they go to find $1 million? Where do they go to find $100,000? And is that going to be local money so that as that gets paid off, that interest gets reinvested in the community? So it sounds to me from talking to all these people, there isn't really an entity doing something like that here to build an infrastructure along those lines. It kind of leads to sort of the micro macro issue, which is, they're small businesses with massive opportunities. And we can talk about the forest products, all these different things, like you need a big chunk of money to build the first thing. We were talking about something here that was $30 million. That's the get going start. But they're not going to do $30 million in revenue in the first year. So it's a real challenge to where do you find the money? Does it have to come from really far away? Or is there a way that we can build something locally? We did not come up with a solution for it, but it is a real problem here not to be able to continually reinvest the money into Nevada County.
I'll come to this side, so I'm not going to be leaving my group with my back. Hello, my name is Corian Red. I am a board member of Sierra Commons. First, I want to talk about the problem that we identified is that there's real challenges for regulatory structure as well as access to funding, particularly in the nonprofit sector. And one of the things we talked about is the ability for mergers and acquisitions. How do we create a more efficient nonprofit sector so that more money is able to be raised and go directly to the solutions of those problems? Right now, there's a lot of individual organizations that have a lot of overlap, particularly with our current environment of lack of grant funding and that disappearing. There's a real opportunity for us to be able to figure out within regional organizations, how do we maybe start creating an umbrella that there's one organization instead of 5 or 6 within an area working on a problem? And that also means, as part of that too, what was brought up is we would have to figure out how to make sure that there is equity in the representation. So that if you're in the little town of Washington and you have a nonprofit there, you don't necessarily have the political or economic strength to be able to make sure that your voice is heard. That's why you have a local nonprofit that's going to represent that. Another big thing that we identified is just overall, and it's been touched upon by different groups, affordability and the cost of living. And there's many flavors to that problem, whether that is the ability just to be able to afford a place to live, whether that's a living wage, whether it's the expensive costs of health insurance or fire insurance. And what we're, the general idea is, how do we get better distribution of wealth and resources? How do we make sure that it is not something that is necessarily from the top down, but from the bottom up?
Hi, I'm Monty. We had a table, well, we're in luck. We've got GeoShip at our table, so we can build housing for all of us. That's going to be affordable and comfortable and warm and cool in the summer.
and also educational resources, local radio. So we had a really interesting group of people. Regulatory kind of came up at the top of the list. And I'm going to sort of summarize some of the stuff we talked about as I brainstormed this word educatory, which doesn't make sense. And then I realized collaborative, because the people that do the regulations are often, from my experience in the food world, they're often very bookish and very strict and very like trying to get the dots to line up. And so if there was a collaborative relationship, the incubator that was mentioned over at this table, if there was some kind of an incubator approach that met the needs, whether it's a food business or a building business, but also was easier to find your way into. The other, when I say find your way into, like education, I'm going to talk about capital access, education in school, beginning that education both around finances, but also the regulatory issues that you might have starting a business. Start that at a younger age. And then another phrase that jumped out at me that I really liked was small as sustainable. And like some of the foods that we've had here today, maybe they don't need to become a coast to coast brand. Small as sustainable. There's so many great food businesses, and I think that could be applied to a lot of other businesses as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So all of your insights are being captured over here. They're also being captured over here. So we will be able to synthesize all of these ideas and send them out so there can be continued conversation beyond this meeting. And Robert will speak more about that. And if there's anything you didn't have a chance to say out loud that you want to be heard, there is a blank slate poster up here where you can share your insights, markers over there. So please drop your ideas in there throughout the afternoon as well. And I think that's it. We're right on time for lunch. So thank you so much for your succinct report outs. Okay. And lunch is waiting for you outside of this room. Go now.
Not only is it delicious, it's also another example of what the Food Entrepreneur Accelerator can produce. So this morning we had biscotti. Jason over there, raise your hand. Okay, it's Black Rooster Kitchen. Just officially started his business and was a Food Entrepreneur Accelerator graduate. Outer Heaven provided the coffee and tea, and awesome. They're currently in our Food Entrepreneur Accelerator program. There's 3 members in the class because Wendy wants everyone to have some business acumen because they're working towards making an employee-owned business. So that's super exciting, and delicious coffee, right? Petra, where's Jade? Maybe at Petra, I'm not sure. but Jade took the Food Entrepreneur Accelerator and is just like one of our poster people, from idea to having a full-blown restaurant in downtown Nevada City that people love, and we just know it's an institution already. And cookies from Highland Cookie Company. And Teresa and Mark they show up to all the accountability groups. They show up to all the classes. When we ask for volunteers, they show up. They're showing up in a big way and making delicious cookies. So, dang. So, right on. Yeah, it's all good stuff. And of course, thanks to the volunteers for helping serve up the good food. Speaking of food and speaking of Briar Patch, the place we all know and love, does this annual Roundup at the Register program. And it gives nonprofits like Sierra Commons a chance to be the recipient of that Roundup funds. And how convenient that we have this black and white flyer on everyone's table where you can use the QR code to vote for Sierra Commons as one of the 3 recipients. If you bring that up, you'll get to vote for 3, and I'd love it if you voted for Sierra Commons. That'll help us keep on keeping on. So thank you for that, and thanks to the Briar Patch. I have let me just say what the rest of the day is going to look like. So Treasurer Ma is going to come up in a second to share some information about what's going on in the Treasurer's office and how they support small businesses. And then we're going to have a panel discussion and a little wrap up. So please stick around for that, for the wrap up part. And I've actually never before gotten to introduce a California State Treasurer before. So, this is new opportunities. So I'm pretty grateful for that. This is not the first time that Treasurer Ma has come around Sierra Commons. In 2024, I was out of the country, unfortunately, didn't get a chance. So I'm super stoked to meet you today. It's pretty incredible. There's the bio in the program, so I won't repeat that. But what I've learned is that there's 17 agencies, that Treasurer Ma, agencies, boards, and commissions. California is the 4th largest economy in the world. And we have the chief banker right here with us. And it's quite an honor. And please welcome Treasurer Ma.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob, for everything you do and, convening us here today. I think it is so important that when people like me, decision makers, people who are allocating money, they see that the community is coming together and that you care, that you are taking the time to do it, and that the organizations are coming together. Because I did hear at one of the tables that cannibalizing each other happens. Well, it happens when everybody is fighting, their own fight versus fighting as a region. And so, these type of events, right, Heidi, right, Lisa? It's great that, we get a sense of what the priorities are, what the challenges are, and then we can bring it back and make those priorities, your priorities, our priorities at the state. Because those of us in government, CAL FIRE I know is here, the squeaky wheel does get the grease, right? If I'm calling him, all of a sudden things are happening versus, oh, we'll get back to you. We'll call you back in 2 months, or maybe, your phone call isn't, returned. But hopefully, in government, we are doing our job, and that is our job because you all pay for our salaries. And I started in the private sector, working as a real estate tax accountant. And then I found that doing people's taxes was not really my calling, and that I really loved public service. And then that led me down to getting elected to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, the State Assembly, State Board of Equalization, State Treasurer, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor next year. So I am not ready to quit yet. And I think more than ever, we need qualified people to lead, to understand how things work, who to call, how to, shake the tires a little bit, but more importantly, how to collaborate and bring people together. And this takes work. This takes work from the organizations like Rob and Gil and, my former external affairs, Michael Tammany is local now, and Rochelle and Rita, my left and my right arm, my scheduler. And the better and stronger your community is, the more that you're going to get things done. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to go to Japan with Barry Broom of the Greater Sacramento Economic Development Council. And so I got an earful from him about, what is happening, number one, in your region, how certain industries are doing well, which is great, creating high quality jobs. But he was pushing me and others to do more, that we need to focus, that we need to, think about California as the 4th largest economy in the world and not just one of the 50 states. And when you think about it that way, we need to attract more foreign direct investment. We need to work with more diverse communities. We speak over 200 languages here in California, and we have been moving up the ladder in terms of world economies from the 10th to the 6th to the 5th, and now we are the 4th. And why is that? Because of our entrepreneurial spirit, because of our large immigrant population who wants to work and do more work every single day, because of our strong industries, whether it's agriculture or technology or tourism or Hollywood, hopefully to bring it back. And so it takes all of us to, think about where we are in California and where we want to go. So one of the things that I did here is housing. In my agency, I am not only the banker, maybe I'll start with that. I am the treasurer. I am one of 8 constitutional officers elected statewide. We can only serve 8 terms maximum, and I'm the banker. So all of the revenues come into my office, over $3 trillion every year. 3 trillion. You know how many zeros that is? I always tell the young kids, like, I am the richest woman in the world with my bank statements, because they just can't, they're like, trillion, that's 12 zeros. Every day we invest the state's idle funds as well as 2,200 local governments, including all of the 8 counties here in this capital region. I issue all the bonds for the state of California, the UC and the CSU systems. And even during COVID, we never missed a bond sale, twice a year. California has done really, really well. Investors like to invest in California because all of the things that we all know here. And then thanks to Jess Unruh, he was a very powerful speaker. When he got elected treasurer, he said, we're sitting on all this money. I want to do more. So today I have probably 15 executive directors that are funding and financing affordable housing, children's hospitals, regular hospitals, emergency crisis beds, public transportation, charter schools, advanced manufacturing, green technology companies, garbage and recycling, tons of small business programs. And I do have some resource guides that we can talk about. And then 4 savings programs, Scholarship 529 for higher education, Cal Savers for people who don't have a retirement savings plan, Cal Able for people with disabilities, and our newest Hope programs, those who are in foster care, long-term foster care for 18 months or more, and those children that lost a parent or guardian due to COVID. I also sit on CalPERS, CalSTRS, the California Earthquake Authority, the iBank, California Housing Finance Authority. So essentially anyone who wants or needs money, please come see me. And that's why I've been up here, quite a lot, because you do have a lot of amazing, entrepreneurs. I just learned about GeoShip, for example, and you have a bio company, you have a tiny home village coming. I mean, we need to also think regionally. And I heard that a lot of the investments come from outside, but how do we develop, those investments inside, which can trickle down and repopulate so that more, startups, small businesses can grow and thrive. And I do think one of the keys is our educational system. I know you do a lot with Sierra College, for example. Our community colleges are getting stronger and stronger, especially under Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom, where it's free now for any first time college goer. And then I know the governor is supporting a bill. I'm trying to get the bill number where every high school student that graduates is automatically eligible to enroll in a CSU. So that would be Sacramento State or Chico State, in your case. And we need to do more. I feel like we are not training our next generation to get those jobs. We need to do more public-private partnerships. These companies that are coming here, they need talent. And I asked them, I said, so who do you work with? And they're like, well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I said, well, have you offered to, teach, bring your curriculum in so that these young people, are going to be trained in what you need? Are you offering paid internships? Are your executives mentoring these young people? That's what they need. And when they feel that there is opportunities in their communities, they will stay here, right? Because people ultimately are comfortable where they know people, they know how to operate. They don't want to keep starting all over with new people, new changes. And so I think there's an opportunity to do more with our CSUs and our community colleges and the private sector that wants to come here. Why do companies want to come? Well, number one, usually it's cheap land, right? Number two, it's grants. And then number three, it's the talent pool. And so we just need to figure out, number one, what is the priorities for this county? I know you're part of the 8 regional counties under, what is it, Gil, California jobs first, right? But your EDCs, your small business development centers, our agencies. I know Sheila is here as part of our California Pollution Control Facilities Authority, but we're going to change the name because pollution control. It's been 7 years. I'm like, we need to get with it. And I think we're finally going to change the name to something that is more relevant, but still has the initials, CPCFA. But we are out there, trying to do the best we can to let you all know what is coming down the pike. During COVID, California received $27 billion of COVID relief money. And that came because of our census, because a number of people that said that they live here in California. And that's why the census is so important every 10 years. And why people used to go knock on your door and ask you how many people lived here, because every person is a dollar figure, right? So that's why we got 27 billion. How many of you got any free money during COVID? Perfect, great, right? Lots of people didn't. Why? Because by the time the information got out there in the news, some success story, the money was gone. And so that's why my office, I really push them about constituent services, getting out there, forming those partnerships, alliances, and then making sure that you're all ready, for the next round of funding when it finally comes. And before I turn it over, I just want to say that, my father passed away last week. Okay, everything happens for a reason. But it is so important that we all, tell our next of kin, our best friend, whoever it is, what it is that you want if you get in that situation. Make sure that we are all signing that advance directive and letting the doctors know what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want, because it is very difficult. And these days, with modern healthcare technology, you can keep someone alive for 10 years that will never wake up for a coma. And who benefits? The insurance companies. It's not the quality of life for that person or the family members. And so that is just my tip of the day is I know we don't want to talk about, getting ill or falling down or getting older, but let's think about it for ourselves, how we want to be treated, but then also for the next generation that has to, also, move on and, going forward. So, Rob, I'm ready to turn it back to you.
Okay. Cool. So thank you, Treasurer Ma. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So we have we've collected everyone registered for this event. We have some pre-selected questions, or we can just improvise and take it from. So go ahead and raise your hands, and Lundy in the back of the room will bring the mic to you to ask a question if anyone has a question.
Yeah, I can. No, seriously, I go to all 58 counties and I meet with the electeds, with the city manager, and they always have a wish list. They always have a gap in funding, right? Especially now. So then I try to, figure out how to partner or fix that gap and, turn you over to people like Sheila who may be able to figure out some creative financing.
So I know you are a regular human being and delightful, but I think that there is a lot of people who feel like there's red tape or that the government doesn't want to help them. I hear that a lot. And I know there are so many services provided both from the governor's office and from your office. If I'm just a regular guy off the street and I'm looking for is there a possible business grant for me? Is there a program for this? What's my first stop? How do I find those services and resources?
Yes. So, Catherine in my office, Catherine Asprey, that is her main job is to respond to emails, text messages, phone calls. And I always encourage folks, it's called Ask Fiona at treasure.ca.gov. Just ask us, hey, my father died. I'm trying to transfer my car, to myself, what do I need? You can always just send it to us. We will respond. But I've also found I've been using ChatGPT a lot, right? Just asking those questions to start me thinking, oh, I should maybe contact this agency or that agency. So the more that you do a little homework and pinpoint what it is you need, the easier it is for us to get back to you instead of explaining. Now, your small business development centers, is there anyone from the SBDC? Okay. SBDCs are an amazing resource. They are free. They are paid by the U.S. Small Business Administration as well as the state of California. Utilize these consultants. These are your experts. They can help you answer questions, plan, set up a business plan, connect you to the resources that we're talking about. And then, they can be, they're kind of like your personal business consultant. And so a lot of people don't know this. And sometimes we have to fight to keep this funding going, because if we're not able to fund these consultants, then you're really stuck. You really don't know anywhere to go. So thank you.
Not a question, but just, I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but in answer to that, the treasurer has an awesome resource guide. And she gives links to information about not only her own programs, but programs outside of the state treasurer's office. At least a good place to start to get what you need and get what you're looking for. So we have a few over at our table over here at CPCFA, but you can also get there going to our website.
So I have some
treasure.ca.gov.
Exactly. Treasure.ca.gov. If you go on there, you will see those boxes at the very top. And my resource guides are there, my fire recovery resource guides. I just asked my team to do something about education. And then Rita, what was the fourth one? IT? IT is the latest one, because those are the questions I get a lot questions about. And so when I see the need, I put together the guide, but they're all on my website as well.
I think we have a time for one more before we do the panel discussion. Oh,
I made it onto the board. I'm so jealous. Your handwriting is so good.
Okay, Tim has a question.
Okay, I don't know if this is appropriate, but not every kid is destined for college. So do you foresee there being funding in the future for the high schools to bring back the trades? You have an auto shop, wood shop, metal shop, because those are the springboard from which our workforce comes from, and there's a lacking workforce in these fields.
Yeah.
So do you foresee any change coming?
I actually do, because I do believe after COVID, there are more young people that don't want to just go to a four-year university, go in a student loan debt just for a piece of paper, and they're not able to kind of continue work. So I think our community colleges, that's why they're exploding with a lot of these workforce apprenticeship programs. And then I've seen great high school models. Let's see, San Benito has probably one of the best, where they still have an auto shop, they have a wood shop, they have like 4 different areas, and they're preparing the next, their high schoolers for working on EV cars or, construction industry. And then the trades now are partnering. One of the building trades, they partnered with the local high school at the county fair. And that was the first time I saw, there's always that section where the kids are making things, metal, wood. The trades were right there trying to recruit them into the trades. So there is a lot more collaboration, but, in high school, K through 14, they are competing, right? They are part of Prop 98, but many of the schools may not be focused on that. So it's up to, regions, school districts, superintendents, elected officials to really fight for more funding so that, so it's not just based on per pupil attendance, but whatever is extra perhaps can go into these important programs.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to transition to, Piano's it's wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're going to transition to a panel discussion. So if the panelists could make their way up, that would be wonderful. Yeah, if you feel comfortable there, and we'll have the panelists sit. Do you want to sit here? We can all sit on the couch? Probably 5 of us can fit there. Yeah, come on. Cool. All right. Okay, while people self-organize here.
I won't bite.
We will, I'd just like to briefly introduce the panelists. Jonathan Collier, is this awkward? We can deal with it. We'll do it, yeah. Oh yeah, don't fall in there. Is there a remote control stuff in the, there's somewhere? All right here is Jonathan Collier. Many of you know him from the kind of community organizing, and right now, oh yeah, well, the first time I really got to know you was with the Cashins Field project, and provided affordable housing for a bunch of people right here in Nevada City. It's such a great addition. And now you're on to the Hue Renew project, and I'm sure some other things you'll talk about. Tim Van Wagner, many of you know him from First Rain Farm. We've known each other for a while. Great farmer, and has moved into land clearing services. So there's just the intersection right there of food and forest situation. And Tim has been one of our favorite presenters in the Forest Entrepreneurship Training Program. Kristen York, with the Vice President of Sierra Business Council, really Sierra Commons owes so much to Sierra Business Council for all of the support they've given us over the years. As a matter of fact, Steve Frisch, their president, was served on the first board of directors of Sierra Commons. So Sierra Business Council has been with Sierra Commons since day one. And Travis Duckworth, Igniter grad, and came to us with this crazy idea about starting a tiny house factory. And now we're on to tiny home villages and so many innovative financing options. And all together, we're going to solve a lot of these problems. And let's have a conversation about that. So, and there's a couple mics here. We could prime the pump with some questions, some predetermined questions, or if there's anything on your mind, Fiona, that you want to ask. Good. Okay.
Am I moderating? You're moderating? You're moderating.
We're going to just go with the flow here, but there's some questions that people have submitted during the registration. We have some online viewers. They've also submitted questions. So the first kind of just opener is about defining resilience and what is it? It's definitely been the word of the I don't know, last 6 months. Maybe we'll move on to regenerative after resilience. I'm not sure, but I guess Jonathan has the mic.
Yeah, I'll start. So when I think about resilience, I think about how we are flexible, how we bend and don't break, how we rebound and build better than before. So it's how we adapt to change, how we overcome hardship, how we respond to crisis, which just seems to be the norm these days. And one of the things that I think about just teaching story-wise is just how the single stick is so easy to break by itself, but when you have a bundle, how much strength is in that? So when I think about resilience, I think a lot about collaboration, about connection, about relationships, and how we all need to work together as a community, and that strength in community. So I'll start there.
I would add to that kind of can you hear me? Is that better?
Much better.
My background's more in the kind of forestry and food and farming. And so, I really think of things kind of from the biological standpoint of, when a disturbance comes, like, how does that system respond to it? Take a forest fire, right? A forest fire that comes through that has 100 years of fuel accumulation, that forest is going to respond by dying. Most of the trees and vegetation will die and then have to kind of get a full reset. But a forest that has kind of had some regular work done to it over time and reduced the fuel loading becomes resilient in the face of a wildfire. Doesn't mean everything will survive, but it means that the fire will move through that land, and perhaps it's actually more of a beneficial treatment at that point, where the weaker trees are going to die out and the stronger ones will survive. And in that process, you also get like a flurry of renewal, things that are adapted to that circumstance. And so in farming, one of the things we always think about is like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because we know what happens when that basket falls. And I think in this kind of resilience conversation, a lot of it is about like, okay, how do we spread the risk? And because it's not just about the trees, right? Like when a forest fire comes through and kind of does what it does to a landscape at high intensity, it affects the way water flows off the ground. It affects our insurance costs. Like there's so many impacts that can be felt. And so if we can kind of use resiliency as the idea to like anticipate disturbance, like disturbance is kind of just a normal part of human experience on Earth. And it's not like we're, you know, just getting blindsided by the fact that this is happening. No, it's been happening for a long time. So how do we actually kind of anticipate that and build a system around it?
That is awesome because I'll think of as from the economic and social system, the perfect analogy is the natural system. So the feed and caring that goes along with the economic system, that we don't allow overgrowth in an economic system, and that we take care so that we can live into perpetuity.
I have nothing to add. I'm just kidding. I remember we, as many of you know, we're called Soul, just to touch back to my Hispanic kind of connections with the Southwest. And we moved here from El Paso. And I remember being there when we changed the Office of Sustainability to the Office of Resiliency. And we were basically just saying that is here we've been in a situation where we're trying to maintain a certain level of structure, and now we have to weather the storm that's coming. And so for me, you know, I think just touching on all the things and just getting into our community, particularly in this form of this Igniter, form that we're doing right now, is taking the creative and intellectual collateral that we have in this incredible community, connecting the silos that we have in this community. We have amazing resources, identifying what's going to be the next platform for our economic, growth. We've talked briefly at our table earlier about, our cannabis industry, our mining industry, our timber industry, and how some of these things have fallen away, and now what's next? And that's a really exciting place to be. And so how do we leverage that creativity to create resiliency for those storms that we know are coming, and do that in a way that connects those dots and builds that community and builds that bundle of sticks together. That's what we're doing.
Well, and I would also add that when we try something and it doesn't work, we need to pivot. Instead of funding the things that aren't working, like homelessness is a big issue. We all know homelessness is a big issue, but we keep putting money into the same systems that are in place instead of trying to think about other out of the box creative ideas. But that's because when there's money involved, people get very territorial, and it's very hard. Then they get into lobbying, and then they get into trying to recall us if we don't, continue, but we all know that things aren't working, but we also need the support for the community to push forward, those creative ideas that you are all experiencing. And you're saying, well, why do we keep giving money to this program when this program can work, is working, and we can build it and scale it? That's the challenges that we have as elected officials, and trying to figure out a budget when, we're all fighting over the crumbs.
And I'll just throw in really, really quickly off of that to rip off of, not only can we scale it, but as a small community, we have this really amazing opportunity to do really cool things and say, hey, this isn't working at the national level or the state level or the county level, but here it's working in Nevada City. Here's how it could look. And then not only scale it as one thing, but also just model it for other companies and other industries and other communities to replicate.
And hats off to the city governments and the county government for really rolling with it and allowing for this change. So I've lived here for 25 years, and it hasn't always been that way. So thank you. That's making a big difference. And that, combined with all the innovation that we have here in this room and beyond this room, is I think we are making changes. So that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so there's some of these questions here. Let's try this. We're kind of have some questions for specific people and then some add-on questions, so we can all have some time. And of course, Treasurer Ma, just interject whenever you want. Jonathan, you work at the intersection. Jonathan's also on the board of directors of Briar Patch. So there's housing and there's food, and you're kind of, hey, this is like housing and food and forest. So there you go. Wonder why you're on this panel. Where do you see opportunities for this to happen, where there's this intersection between these sectors, and how do you see that like lifting all the boats together?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really excites me about this community is there's full of innovative thinkers. And one of the most exciting programs that I think is rolling out is Community Roots, which is the fresh food school program. So there's 4,000 students, 2 meals, that's 8,000 students, that's a lot of food. When Trisha with Valley Vision was talking about procurement, It's just like, that is a lot of procurement. There's a lot of agricultural potential in that. So that's one of the things that excites me. But one of the things that we're doing is also the community land trust. So this is creating affordable housing by preserving land in perpetuity for incomes be 120% or sorry, 120% AMI or lower, as well as 30% of their income. So one of the things that we have kind of eyed in the future, the co-founder, Tracy Houston, developed this idea of cooperatives, which is when you have a agricultural parcel, you could actually build a primary unit, an ADU, a junior ADU, and 4 workforce housing, which could actually increase housing dramatically. But you'd also have a farm there, because the farmer housing actually requires that you have a farm. But this farm could also work into the supply chain of procurement. And then with that, we'd also look at how we could ease transportation, because if you have this little community working on a farm together, do you really need to have cars for everyone? Could you have the farm truck, a van? So can we minimize emissions, transportation, create more shared resources that way? So, basically creating a lot of opportunity on each front. So that's one of the ways that I could potentially see that moving into the future. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Can I just add, since you said I could jump in? It's like the kibbutz model. As I'm getting older and I don't have kids, I'm looking at my girlfriends and saying, hey, we should find some place where we can all have maybe a tiny home village where everybody's contributing. I can do people's taxes. And, we're looking for, a doctor and, a lawyer and this is, I think this is where we should be going, as well as intergenerational living. I've been living with my parents for on and off for the last, 30 years, last 7 with just my dad. And I can see how difficult it is. And they're very stubborn and they don't want strangers in the house and they don't want to, use a walker or a cane. But if there are people in your community, young people that they're comfortable with who can walk the dog, help out, like with my dad with his computer when it doesn't work, right? They want to give advice and guidance. And I just think we have lost the family model. And so anything we can do to create, those cooperatives, I love it.
Well, and I think cooperatives as a whole are also a potential. So to create the housing cooperatives that we need for the land trust is really important. And right now, financing is very difficult for cooperatives because it is not a standard form. So that's one of the things that we would approach you with. Go, how can we find more financing for cooperative housing? But also when we're looking at aggregating, whether it's Canvas or whether it's food for procurement for the schools, it's like 8,000 meals, like all the local farms combined, it's a drop in the bucket. But if we can aggregate, so again, coming to the cooperative model, I think, which as a board member of the Brotherhood Fresh Food Co-op, we love cooperatives, so more cooperative action.
So just one more thing before I pass it on. So I recently started the San Francisco Farm Bureau. We are the 54th chapter of the California Farm Bureau. And we could have just started a San Francisco Food Network or something, but I felt it was important that we were part of the Farm Bureau that has been around for over 100 years. It took a lot of work. I don't think people believed that we were committed to it. San Francisco, a Democrat, what? But everything started in San Francisco. So for me, it was bringing it full circle to let the people know in San Francisco how hard it is to grow food, right? Whether you're a farmer, a rancher, a winemaker, and unless you educate people, they're not going to understand that. And I think the farm motto, we have a big family, the biggest, largest urban farm in San Francisco, the Fang Family Farm. They're using the Caltrans, lot, as well as some of the city property. It's providing food and also volunteer opportunities for, mostly the seniors in the neighborhood. But food rescue, we waste so much food and there is so much need, and so many now nonprofits are popping up to try to rescue the food before it's expired or maybe on or that day, and to distribute it to those networks that need it. We have abundance now, but we may not have it forever, and we have to better manage, our food supply.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to this conversation, and what it makes me think about kind of these ideas of like the kibbutz and the neighborhoods, what you call it? Cooperahoods, kind of rings true for me in what I've been involved with. I've been basically kind of creating a forest stewardship business over the last 3 years, which is using prescribed fire, targeted grazing with livestock, and a chainsaw crew to kind of give the forest the treatment that it so needs to help our community. And one of the things I always come up against is all these damn arbitrary lines we have written all over the landscape. Private lines that don't make any sense from a landscape management. And so, when I hear about actually what it makes me think about is like old world living, okay, where you had more, centralized communities. And then the periphery was managed with animals, and there were resources actually being, tended there that provided for the community. And, we're not necessarily going back to that exactly, but there's a lot of wisdom in what that provided. And so, from my standpoint, I'm like, how do we overlap functions so that, okay, so we have this thing called fuels, right? And everybody just looks at it like it's land clearing, right? So it's just an expense. That's all it is. It's just a constant expense. Well, is there a resource here? Is there a benefit to the whole water system of California? Is there a food source that can be had from this through grazing or some other type of crop? And one of the barriers to kind of assembling this different model are these arbitrary lines on maps. And we've kind of been in this realm of ultra individualism and specialization, right? Like, okay, go where the money is and focus on that and just kind of forget about everything that surrounds it. And now we're kind of having to kind of reckon with the fact that that hasn't really worked, because if everybody is responsible for maintaining their little portion of the road in front of their driveway and contracting to have that done, our roads would be absolutely shit. And just like our forest is, here we are, the people that have the money to treat it, something's happening there. The people that don't, it remains a threat to the community and an unhealthy forest. So like, how do we kind of create a model that's actually appropriate for a watershed, not just lines on a map, and look at that and have people whose job it is to work with that community and provide the land what it needs, and also manage the resources that are there, instead of constantly looking at it as like, okay, what are we fighting? We're just fighting something all the time. So I really think like we need creative thinking and integrative thinking around how to really be on land with industry and community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Kristen, before we move on, I just have a quick follow-up for you, Tim, and then we're going to change gears just a little bit. So year-round employment, like I know you've spoken in class about keeping your crew employed, and there's a shoulder season. What you're talking about as far as removal of boundaries and artificial boundaries, how do you see that? How do you keep your people employed over the shoulder season is really what I'm getting at.
Well, I have kind of two different realms. I have the farming realm and then the land stewardship, which is more or less forestry. And there is some overlap there because, right, there's a seasonal element to farming, especially up here in the foothills, where we need extra labor in the summer, and then we typically have less going into the fall through the winter. Oftentimes that can be a good fit for kind of a complementary enterprise like forestry, where it's great conditions to kind of ramp things up and tackle big projects that might have environmental restrictions or climatic restrictions. So that has been a thing. But I think from solely looking at it from my land stewardship business side of things, prescribed fire, right? Like, how many days a year are we actually going to be able to burn? Not every day of the year, that's for sure. Sometimes it's too wet, sometimes it's too hot and dry. So how do you actually keep that crew employed? And so that's where you kind of have to diversify, like, okay, what are all the needs of the landscape here? And like, well, there's cut and pile, selective thinning, there's the actual preparation for the burning. Oh, here's an overlapping industry. It's livestock, and this is like a treatment that fits into the landscape in a certain way. And so I've tried to kind of diversify my business, recognizing that, like, how am I going to really maintain a team on something that's so weather specific. And so that's what I've done, and there could be even more ways to go with it, you know. We don't use the core. Mostly we're just a private business, and so I haven't really explored that so much. But you know, a lot of this also comes down to funding. Big surprise. You know, it's like there is a lot more money coming down for forestry work, and even some ideas around forestry products, right? Developing a resource, and those are requiring subsidy at this point, because just like in agriculture, you know, like probably a lot of people here don't realize that like the Sierra Nevadas used to be considered like 60% grazing land. Now it's less than 1%. And it's like, okay, this landscape has changed dramatically, right? With the industrialization of agriculture, and like really like agriculture's has an intrinsic value that it provides outside of the market, right? And that has to do with how the land is managed. Not to say that all grazing is good grazing, but the fact is, like, this landscape has changed without kind of a strong agricultural component, a waning component, I would say. But when you look around and you go around, the areas that look great, and, you know, agriculture plays a huge role in making fire safe environments. You know, you see grazing and you see open areas that are, you know, provide opportunities for fire control. And obviously a food source. But we're kind of in this weird spot up in the foothills where the economics are very difficult at this scale with this land and terrain, but there's also extra benefit beyond the product of the thing.
So that's why I love coming out to these things, because, you know, I'm listening to Tim. And like I said, public-private partnerships, right? He's going to have a hard time keeping people employed. Well, the California Conservation Corps, any of you familiar with them, right? Amazing program. These are for kids who really don't know what they want to do. They don't even want to go to community college, okay? Because they just have not been trained or think that they can be successful. But when they join the Corps and they become good at something, they love the land. This happened to my nephew. We moved him out from Tennessee. He didn't want to go to college. We signed him up for the Corps. All of a sudden, he blossomed. He became a manager. He started to lead. And now he is an apprentice with IBEW. And it started with going into the streams, helping clear. He loves using the chainsaw. And so we kind of convinced him that, hey, you want to use a chainsaw? Let's go into, you know, IBEW, working with the utility companies in the rural communities. And that's what he's doing now. So I would love to partner you with them. Obviously, they need some funding. Well, you're going to hire people or not hire people. The more that we can utilize these young people, give them opportunities, then more funding could come.
All right, cool. Speaking of funding, Kristen, you have a deep experience in finance and a lot of experience in the Sierra region. So what are you seeing businesses do to alternative finance, or how are businesses getting off the ground and getting the funding they need?
Well, usually they have a really rich relative, honestly, but if they don't, it's very difficult. So Jess runs a small business development center. I used to. And probably the number one call we get is what Hillary asked: is there a grant for my startup business? And the answer is no, pretty much. Sorry. But after working in this area for a really long time and seeing people struggling with how to get financing, and they go to their local bank and the bank's like, oh no, you need 3 years of P&Ls, and you know, you need collateral, et cetera, et cetera. To me, the most powerful thing that we can do as a community is to take care of ourselves and to develop a community loan fund. So a revolving loan fund. We did this during COVID, actually up in Truckee. We did 25 loans. We had 0 defaults. Every single one of them is going to pay off this month. I mean, that's amazing. They were only up to $25,000, but in a time of crisis when nobody had any revenue. So think about that. But if we can democratize the capital and unlock the capital that exists in our community, we can do so much. Yeah. And invest in all these really cool projects that are around the room. So, but I'm sorry, that's my answer.
I love it. Thank you. And Travis is just doing just that. you want to talk about some of the innovative financing you're pulling together for your vision of the tiny house community?
Yeah, of course. What I saw was that we needed to find ways to make financing look and feel safe, support our community, and be done in a way that is not so revolutionary that it's outside the box that average regular people couldn't bite into it, and do it where we brought money home. So we fluctuate, but I usually call the initiative Bring the Money Home. And I wanted to see what it would look like to divest from large multinational corporations and bring that money into Nevada County, what it would look like to take the huge amount of leak that we see in residential construction. If I buy a $500,000 house from Robert, he's going to get 500 grand, and another 500 grand of payments and interest is going to leave the community. So how do we do that? And then by and large, we're trying to find ways to just strengthen the local economy. When we launched the business, which was launched to be a model of how a business could operate kindly, we raised $250,000. We built a couple tiny homes. At the end of the year, we gave people the option to either receive their initial investment plus 10% back or stay on as long-term investors. Last fall, we raised 300 grand in 8 days through microloans. We had everything from a local judge write the paperwork to a local high school student give me a couple $100. That is getting back $30,000 a year, 10% to our local economy. And I like to model that not only to say, really cool, we got to do that, we got to raise those money, it let me grow as a business, it let us model what a co-housing community unit can look like. It also brought in all these people that get to be a part of what we do, really be a part of what we do. And now I spend $0 in marketing. We're slammed because those people are out there talking about us and sharing us. So incentivizing, the community and finding wins in all those ways is one of the most powerful things I can do. Right now, we're looking at doing a 100-unit co-housing community, buying a piece of property, common house, exterior parking, all these cool layers. We're bringing in an artist community and highlighting the silos. But one of the coolest things is the financing. And when we talk about a $30 to $50 million, project, we're talking about millions of dollars that are being infiltrated back into our local county every single year, which is super cool. And we're doing that through communities, from regular people. We set the bar really low, but the financing ability of that is tricky because we don't have the models in place. We deal with whether people are sophisticated investors, and that's legal to do. Right now, we're leveraging our assets, which I can do up to a certain amount, but after $1 million or so, I'm kind of out of things I can leverage, and so that's what we're looking at right now. But pretty powerful stuff to keep money here.
Just if you need incentive to look deeper into community investing, Chase Bank's profit last year was nearly $60 billion. That's with a B, $billion in profit. So think about the power of collectively investing in our own community.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation, and Treasurer Ma, I'm not, if there's any parting words you'd like or any question for the panelists, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think you can all see, like, what I was talking about. There's these silos, right? We don't know what, some of you are working on. You don't know some of the programs that we have. We have decision makers here, just for like ADUs. I'm trying to come up with financing, upfront, low cost financing for people who want to build an ADU. Right? Because that is the barrier. Who has 150 to 250,000? Banks won't give it to you until you create it. So there's always this, chicken and the egg. And so the more I hear about everything that you're doing, work with folks like everyone here in this room, the more we can get things done. So thank you all for inviting me here today.
And Val, can we do a quick photo? We're going to just take a second to do a group photo here, and then we're going to conclude the program. So where should we go? Here? The center? Okay, if we could just move here, that'd be great. Oh yeah, under the sign, conveniently placed sign. There he is. Cool, thank you. Oh. Hey. Thank you to all the panelists and thanks to Treasurer Ma. This is awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure there's going to be some time for some conversation later. I just want to really thank everyone. This was honestly a stretch for Sierra Commons and stoked. Like, look at this. This is awesome. So thank you all for showing up and contributing. You know, I was watching all the table conversations and just seeing all the great ideas, smoke coming out of everyone's ears with great, brilliant ideas. And now the question is really, what are we going to do with this? Is this going to be another gathering where we've exchanged ideas and we go home and then the program sits on the desk? Or is it something that this has legs and we can continue the conversations? So Sierra Commons is committing to taking all of the ideas, filtering them out, putting them on paper and sharing them and distributing with everyone. I know the Sierra Business Council is doing a resilience, Jess, you know about there's a resilience group happening, Kristen? There's like a Sierra Business Council resilience group meetup in Grass Valley coming up. Do you know about that? We'll get back to you on that. What's that? County and the cities. Okay, I was wrong on that. Yeah. So there's a lot of activities going on. We can integrate with that. And if you have any ideas about how to continue this good stuff, please talk to me or the staff later. Also on, just because, you know, I teach business and I always do talk about SMART goals and stuff, I thought it'd be good to put this at the back of the program just for your own accountability on what you might do as a result of this specific event here today. Is there a goal you could create for yourself in a SMART goal format where we can start to see results? If each of us do a SMART goal and actually do it, we're going to be that much farther down the road. So I'd encourage you to do that. Of course, vote for us for the roundup. We really appreciate that. There's a page about partnering with Sierra Commons and how we work with other organizations. We'd love to work with you. I want to thank the board and the staff and the volunteers and the sponsors and each one of you for showing up here. And look at that cool graphical. It's been so fun watching this develop. And I think you're still going to keep on going. Thank you all for coming.